Hey everybody, we are the Jersey Comic Crew, and on today's video, we're going to talk about the massive amount of news that Disney has dropped during the shareholder conference. Today, we're going to focus specifically on all the Star Wars goodness. Stay tuned after this.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Jersey Comic Crew, where you heard it. Rob and I are breaking down the Disney shareholder news that exploded on the internet last night. And we were actually talking about doing an episode on the Gaming Awards prior to this. And I was all watching the Gaming Awards. I was doing a little typing on my script, and then this happened, and I don't even remember watching it. So
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
So all of this happened. Definitely pay attention. We're gonna run through all of the Star Wars news that Kathleen Kennedy mentioned. We're going to mention some of the trailers that actually were shown. We're going to mention our thoughts on some of the new projects that were announced, and there is a ton. So, Rob, let's take this away. Let's start going into the stratosphere of news.
Ooh, so the first thing we want to talk about, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni has announced a new show, Rangers of the New Republic, and the Ahsoka shows. These are going to be the two shows that spin out directly from The Mandalorian. And these two shows are going to coincide with the Mandalorian shows. So we're going to see some crossover events down the line with these three shows for these big climactic moments. I think it's safe to say in the Ahsoka show, we're getting Ahsoka. And Rangers of the New Republic, we're going to see them and their daily duties and what it takes to build a new republic. And I'm sure we're going to get Cara Dune and Navarro. We're going to get some focus on that. So that way, the whole world that the Mandalorian has created gets to be fully fleshed out. The Republic side, the Jedi side, and then our favorite, the Bounty Hunter Mandalorian, right in the middle.
Yeah, I agree with everything you basically just said there. And it seems to me that the Ahsoka side, which we initially thought for Mandalorian, was going to focus maybe Thrawn in the background of all this. Mm-hmm. To me now, the Mandalorian show gets smaller in focus, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
And maybe more focusing on taking back Mandalore with a Bo-Katan in the future. And now this Ahsoka show is Thrawn and possibly live action Ezra Bridger and Sabine.
Yes.
And the New Republic show is more of the side of, Cara Dune, possibly, Carl Weathers' character as well.
Ooh.
Maybe some of the other ones like Mayfeld show up and which would be a great kind of serious tension breaker from this space comedian who sounds like he's from Brooklyn.
I can see that happening because all these different cogs essentially have to happen, right? Thrawn has to be taken down because Thrawn is definitely a big component in this, and I'm sure he's been working with Moff Gideon, and we're going to see, Mando's journey on that side. We're going to see the Imperial side supporting them because it's definitely going to be Empire is going to have some influence on Mandalore. I think it's going to be great. I can't wait for all these shows to come out, and I know you all are excited at home. Speaking about exciting and spies, the Andor series is set to come out in 2022. That is the spy thriller from the Star Wars universe with Diego Luna. These are the characters from Rogue One. This is going to take place right before Rogue One and kind of build that story as well. We're seeing the Resistance being born.
That's a series that was announced kind of when Disney Plus started, right? And we kind of haven't heard much since. And part of that was, I think, with dealing with COVID and, building all these new structures where, Disney and Lucasfilm specifically with the structure that we now know they filmed The Mandalorian in. Kathleen Kennedy also mentioned that they're building 3 or 4 more around the world, like London and LA and all these other places. So
wow, that's pretty dope.
They're going to, which I'm guessing obviously with that new technology, now these actors and characters can immerse themselves even more into these worlds.
Oh, yeah.
And you can film a bunch of stuff at the same time. And Kevin Feige's going to want to jump in on that for Marvel as well with the way the world is now. So with Andor, we kind of saw a little behind the scenes, some of the ships. We know Mon Mothma is going to make a return. This is going to be kind of the birth, the very origin of the rebellion, even though Rogue One touched a little upon that. Kind of more of who Cassian Andor was before he basically meets his, spoiler alert, demise in Rogue One.
But speaking of mind-numbingly awesome news, guys, the Obi-Wan series, Obi-Wan Kenobi series has been confirmed to take place 10 years after the events of Episode 3. We also got confirmation that Hayden Christensen will be returning as Darth Vader. Filming begins next March. Great to see all these characters coming back together. I can't wait for the storyline, and I'm sure there's so much that they could pull off for Vader from the comics alone that time span is really where you get the formulation of Vader and his mindset. So they already have all that source material there, which is going to be great. I can't wait to see Daddy Wan Kenobi coming in and just taking everything. Like, oh my God. Are you?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I mean, come on.
Lola.
Come on. He's
No,
a very attractive man.
Yeah, I am. Yes, I am. This show has me hyped the most, as like just as much as Ahsoka does, and for me, these were the two that I was like, whoa. And
yeah, it's pretty
so
dope.
one, the thing of it being 10 years after episode 3, that is exactly the midpoint between episode 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
So A New Hope is 20-ish years after the events of episode 3. So we're going to get not only Vader in his prime, played by Hayden again, which, they had a suit built for him in episode 3, which now I'm guessing they're going to modify and even make better.
Of course.
But I think all of our questions are kind of similar right now, right? If you're bringing Hayden back, one, is James Earl Jones going to do the voice of Vader? Are we still going to see maybe some flashbacks that Hayden will portray still as Anakin in this Obi-Wan series? Or are we going to get some more kind of things we wanted to see more in Rogue One, like Vader in the Bacta tank and what goes on in Vader's head and like him chewed up and the gnarly stuff, which people are on both sides of, right? Like a lot of us want to see that mindset.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I want to see it too, because I feel like it's like the comic book where we see in Vader's head, and it's those amazing touch points where you and I have said, can they please do this? Mm-hmm. And I think other people are like, almost like the Joker, right? I don't want to touch on this too much. I want the mystery of what makes Vader tick.
But again, with this show, it's the Obi-Wan show. You have to be very careful how much you touch upon Vader, because Vader could easily steal the spotlight from Obi-Wan and anybody else. But I think this is going to be a great dynamic. Speaking of great dynamics, The Bad Batch. The Bad Batch trailer came out. This is a spin-off from the Clone Wars series. This is going to be these weird group of clone troopers that are specialized in their own way, and we're going to see their adventures throughout the galaxy. It looks a lot of fun, but it definitely looks like it spans into the Galactic Empire after the Clone Wars, so it's kind of that bridge from Clone Wars to the Empire, and we get to see what the weird or the best of the best clone troopers happen to them after the transition. I think it'll be a fun show. I don't know how integral it'll be to the greater Star Wars universe, but I think it's definitely going to fill up some plot holes or some, necessary storylines we might need.
Yeah, I think it's going to be integral, not as integral as a Clone Wars or Rebels was, with some of the Jedi putting pieces together, but I think it'll be integral for, Order 66 and how that affected clones and how it went from clones to stormtroopers, some of those, background questions, because these guys were technically defective, right? So in Clone Wars, we see them, and one of them's got Hulk strength. The other one's dead shot. He's can snipe anything. One of them's Rambo. He's a hunter with the long hair and the bandana. Yeah. And we have the tech kind of Donatello one, right? It's Ninja Turtles mixed with the A-Team. And those guys seemingly didn't get affected by Order 66. Either the chips were defective or they didn't have them because of those other defections, quote unquote defections. And we see them in this trailer kind of going against stormtroopers, and we see them in shootouts with stormtroopers. Cool. So it's going to be how this kind of affected post Clone Wars and post Episode 3.
You talk about all these possibilities, these visions for the show. That leads us to Star Wars Visions, guys. Animated short film in 10 different anime styles films. Gonna be really cool. Don't know what they're gonna be. We don't really have too much information, but more Star Wars and animation sounds fun to me.
Yeah, to me, it kind of seems similar to the original Clone Wars series that was released as those 10, 15-minute shorts, which were awesome. Mm-hmm. Where it's not canon anymore, but you find out how Grievous gets his cough because he got in a fight with Mace Windu and he used the Force on his chest. Oh, yeah. Remember those? So I'm hoping they do it in that great anime art style where you get also crazy good choreography with Jedi weapons and fighting. That's what I kind of hope for this series. I'm actually excited about that.
That'd be really cool. More exciting news. They have announced the Lando series. Well, it's more. I think it's a limited series, if you will. I'm not sure if it's ongoing. I'm a little bit confused on what exactly is coming with Lando. Chris, maybe you can explain it to me and the rest of us.
Yeah, no, Lando was announced, and that's been something that's been rumored for a while. It was, Donald Glover or, Childish Gambino, whichever side of you're on, if you're listening to music or you're watching them on TV. It must be nice to be that rich where you can have two personas that are that famous. Lando was something he wanted to do. So when Star Wars was like, hey, we're doing a Lando movie, he was like, I'm in. I think you are correct. I think it's more of a limited series, maybe like 6 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Unless it's like a limited run series where it's like 2 to 3 seasons of that same kind of format. But my guess would be it's post Solo, right? Like we saw the events of Solo. What is he doing after Solo? Maybe we see him, climbing up the ranks to be eventually where he becomes the top gun at Cloud City, where we see him like what he kind of swindles people out of there and kind of being that Lando charismatic persona that he is. So I'm obviously interested. I think every Star Wars fan is going to check that out.
The biggest news announcement for me from the Star Wars is the Occult series that's coming out. So this is the high-intensity thriller from the dark side's perspective at the end of the High Republic era. Now, if you Google this, you're going to get so many different theories. Well, we know the Occult are like these, essentially it's a religious zealots that tend to follow darkness, right? This is what the Occult is, like whether it's Cthulhu, whether it's Satan, stuff like this.
Cthulhu!
For me, when I hear the Occult, I'm like, okay, it's a group of like people that worship the Sith. Who's a big Sith character? Oh, maybe Darth Plagueis. Maybe we get some of that. I don't know, but I think
that was dark but slightly sexual, by the way. Darth Plagueis.
That's me, baby. But this one, I think you all need to keep an eye out for. They didn't release a lot of information on this, but this one is very easily get swept under essentially the wave of news that came from Disney. This is something I think you guys need to keep an eye out for.
I agree, and this one you were 100% right? Like everything came out, and then this title was kind of on the bottom left.
Yeah, it was just like
screen, and I was like, "Oh wait, the hell's that? Like that looks dark. Like that font is not friendly.
That's a mean font.
It's red and it's angry." So that was something where I was like, "Oh, I want to know more." And
yeah,
if you watch the shareholder meeting, which I did it very late last night, they actually say it's a very dark side, aspect that they're looking at, this mystery thriller that will deal with the very end era of the High Republic, which is just starting with the book series in January with Charles Soule's brand new book that's starting at 300 years before episode 1.
Exactly.
So will this tie into those dark side wielders and the quote unquote Sith that we see in that series? I think it's really smart that it also shows that they really care about this High Republic era. It's not just books and comics.
Yeah, and like this is the era that people have been wanting, right? Many Jedi, many Sith going around, swinging the swords, epic fights. It's what everybody wants. So to have this during that time period is a very smart idea.
And one thing with dark side to light side stuff, everyone likes to see themselves as, the good guys in the story. But if you read any of the books, it's always the Sith ones that are the best. Yeah, and I also agreed with your first point. I hope we get, like, in canon, Darth Plagueis and maybe Sidious, a.k.a. Palpatine, as that apprentice rising through the ranks, or we see kind of the history between that, which is something everyone's want to see. And even after the Plagueis book came out, it's not canon anymore. So I think there's a lot of lingering things that they could also take from that.
Oh, yeah.
And put in and answer some of those questions of the big meeting in episode 3 with him and Anakin. So that would be awesome to see as well.
So on the lighter side, guys, we got a couple of things we want to talk about. A Droid Story. It's not a Toy Story. Well, it kind of is. It's the R2D2 C-3PO story that goes on Disney Plus. It's going to be great. This could tie into so many different things. Maybe why R2D2 is so important to Star Wars. Why C-3PO is so important. But I think it's just cool that we're going to get a little story with the droids.
I think this is a mini-series. Like, I think we could all guess this is going to be a mini-series.
I agree.
And I also, like, we know there's going to be a new droid in it, which, to me, it's like, we're going to sell toys. But,
yeah, that's
their mission is something like, 3PO and R2 have, like, a mission either within the Rebellion time or the New Republic time where they have to get this droid somewhere. And I'm hoping that this also connects some of the dots because, as a lot of us know, R2 is kind of the background narrator of the entire Skywalker saga, right? He's been from episode 1 where we find him on Naboo all the way to episode 9, and he's the one who remembers everything. At the end of episode 3, 3PO gets his mind wiped, so he doesn't remember anything. But R2 remembers Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan, and everything going into Luke and Leia and beyond that. So I would love to see them have that perspective and also get kind of a little bit confirmation of what R2 knows or doesn't know and how that pieces together in the Star Wars universe.
Moving on to our next little bit of news, we got confirmation that Willow is going to be a series on Disney Plus. It's going to return in 2022. This might not be on your radar, but it's definitely a show worthwhile, especially if Disney has acquired it. Now, Chris, I know you're a big fan of Willow. If you had to give a sales pitch real quick to people who have no idea what this is, what would you say?
One sentence. It's George Lucas's version of Lord of the Rings.
Boom.
It's George Lucas created. Ron Howard directed the original movie. It's basically his Lord of the Rings. It's medieval. It's magical. It's about wizards and knights and all this stuff. And it's much more lighthearted than Lord of the Rings.
Speaking of homage, we have to talk about one of the biggest series in cinema history, Indiana Jones. The final film conclusion is going to come in July of 2022. So that's paying homage to the great series that we have with Indiana Jones. I'm excited. I want to see the film series do well and end on a high note. You know, everyone wants to talk about who's going to be the next Indiana Jones. When they reboot it, is Chris Pratt going to do it? Is this person going to do it? I'm more concerned to see how the story ends because I know it's not over yet. So
I agree, Rob, and I think you got to finish the story with Harrison Ford, even if it's going to be, Indiana Jones and the pudding cup, which seems like it's going to be for episode 5. But it's something that they've already planned out. They've signed on. They start filming, I believe, next year. And who doesn't like Indiana Jones, right? Like it's some of the best cinema history. It brought together George Lucas and Steven Spielberg in a way that no one thought possible. Obviously, I'm going to see it regardless of good or bad. Hopefully it's great and it ends the series on a high note and gives Harrison Ford that perfect ride off on the horse into the sunset.
So speaking of like high notes and fantastic people, 2 big directors are tied into the Star Wars universe, right? We know Taika Waititi is currently writing a film for Star Wars. We don't know what yet, but we're all on the lookout for that. And arguably more importantly, we know Patty Jenkins is going to be directly involved in the film. Rogue Squadrons is going to be directed by Patty Jenkins. It's going to come out on Christmas in 2023. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to focus on 2 fighter pilots and their journey throughout the universe. I'm excited.
I am too, and that's big. Like Rogue Squadron is one. It's a line of books that are beloved by Star Wars fans.
Yes.
During the rebellion, mostly, it delves deep into the character of Wedge Antilles and all these kind of fighter pilots you see, like when Luke's like, I'm going to go do Jedi stuff. And the guys are like, well, we're still here shooting stuff and trying not to die. Peace. It's really like the gritty part. Like, Rob and I used to talk about all the time how Rogue One, the movie, was saved by that 3rd act when the rebels come in and it becomes a Star War. That's what that series is about. The war aspect, the dogfighting.
In the stars.
Grittiness. In the stars. So that's going to be great. We'll see who comes back. I can't see, them not having a Wedge Antilles in this. But it's going to be interesting to see what they pull from the non-canon books and comics, as well as some of the video game stuff that's coming out now. Squadrons just came out a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a bunch of cool stuff. I'm excited. Obviously Patty Jenkins has done Wonder Woman and the sequel that's coming out this Christmas. And we know she's very good with action stuff, right? Like her action fight scenes in Wonder Woman were fantastic. I can't wait for this. She seems very excited. The trailer showed her getting into a rebel pilot suit and walking to a real life X-Wing.
That was cool. That was really cool. I like her doing all that. And then she was talking about homage to her family members, which is awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I think having a Rogue Squadron anything is going to get people excited, and hopefully, obviously, the movie does well and it's in theaters. Hopefully, in a couple years when everything's back to normal as well.
We shall see. Guys, we want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. What your favorite piece of news that came from the Disney shareholders meeting, concerning Star Wars and Star Wars like-minded property. There's so many to choose from. I don't know where to begin or where to end, but we want to hear your thoughts. Let us know.
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Really helps the channel out a lot. If you're brand new, make sure you like and subscribe. Turn on those notifications. You do not want to miss anything when the shareholder stuff comes out. There's only so much I can do on Instagram at one time. But you really want to make sure you get Rob and I's thoughts immediately after it happens. And of course, I'm Chris. That's Rob. We're the Chosen Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.